Johnny!
I'll be back.
And you will know my name is the Lord. I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Groovy.
I'm fascinated by the idea of doing a Batman episode and trying desperately hard not to mention the words Dark Knight Rises.
Every time someone says it, we just like hit a buzzer. And everyone yells at him. No. You can only talk about Ben Affleck.
You have to go into a penalty box every time. Go face the wall.
Oh, and a critical error on MB's part. He's going to be back in that box for about 3 minutes. Let's see if he can keep up.
Little do we know that Flexo is slowly poisoning filling the box with poisonous gas. MB's never seen or heard from again.
It was his own fault.
We now embark upon my latest experiment, the Flexo box.
The Flexo box. There are no winners or losers, only contestants.
Weirdly similar to Primer.
I just push a button, it showers MB with cold water. Warps him socially. I'm trying to prove what MB can take.
We've now unleashed 5 mosquitoes into this box, but we've told him there are 6. Let's see how he handles it.
This is disappointing.
There's gotta be one more. They said 6. They wouldn't lie.
I'm not adjusted to this few mosquitoes.
My life is crumbling to pieces, man. Come on.
You said I could get a carpet for this box.
I lied.
Can we just do that as a podcast? Just weird human experiments?
Only if we live closer to one another.
We can just use the honor system.
Did you stick your hand in that glass of acid? Maybe. Okay.
The bad thing is, I'm sure that is a podcast somewhere. Like, it's just jackass in podcast form. So it's like, oh, he shoved his dick in that beehive. If only you guys could see it.
Speaking of human experiments, have you guys ever heard the penguin in a bathtub joke?
No.
Okay, well, there's basically a whole section of jokes dedicated to telling a joke that makes no sense, there's no punchline, and then trying to convince the people around you that it's funny. So you tell this joke, and you pretend it's hilarious, and you keep pushing and putting pressure on it till eventually someone tricks themselves into thinking that it's funny, or that they get the joke, or they're just going to laugh along with it because they don't want to look like an idiot. And you keep doing this until everyone in the room has convinced themselves that they want to play along with this joke, or they actually get it.
Why do I feel like you've done this to us at some point?
Maybe. So today I did it at work. I was in a training session, and I tell this joke. I'm like, oh, guys, have you ever heard the penguin radio joke? And they're like, no, tell it. I'm like, okay, this one's really funny. There are 2 penguins. They're on an iceberg, out in the middle of the ocean, just kind of cruising around. Icebergs, floating around in the ocean as icebergs are wont to do.
Lazy icebergs.
Yeah, just kind of bobbing. So the 2 penguins are sitting, talking to each other, chatting, jibbing the jab, just shooting the breeze, penguin stuff. Suddenly, there's a crack, loud crack, and the iceberg splits right down the middle. Cracks in half, one half shoots off, going one direction, the other half shoots off, going the other direction. The 2 penguins have been separated and are flying in different directions on their respective icebergs. The first penguin shouts out as he sees his friend flying in the distance, "Radio, radio!" And the second penguin responds, "Radio, radio!" And that's where you leave the joke off, and there's a pause where everyone looks at you like, the fuck? And you let it hang, you kind of smile, and you nod your head, and you laugh. And then they'll go, "Oh, I didn't get it." And you go, "Oh, I'm sorry, let me tell it again." And you tell the same story. And you can throw in whatever details you want. Like, I started talking about seagulls, kind of observing the events. And they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, to mention, oh, this iceberg goes to the east, and this one goes to the west, and this one, it's flying towards India. It's terrible. It's like heat-seeking missile." And you keep adding details like that, and people get mad, like, "What is the joke?" And you're like, "No, it's nothing. You got to get it. I can't tell you." Eventually, someone else will kind of catch on, and they'll start laughing. And then you have 2 people, then 3, then 4, and pretty soon there's one person in the room who just is so angry that they'll be like, "I don't want to get it anyways."
Why are you performing these horrible social experiments on your coworkers?
It amuses me.
I mean, it's a good reason.
Why do I feel like there's a podcast in this? Like some kind of weird Reggie Watts experimental thing where the podcast just never begins.
I did have a lot of fun the last time we did that, and I just started the podcast while people were talking. I'm always looking for ins now where I can
You're
be like,
surprised podcasted us.
yes, I enjoy that idea. I want to.
That was amazing. As a listener, that was amazing, I have to say.
It's fun. You get a little sneak behind the curtain.
I totally think that the penguin joke segment should be at the beginning of this episode.
It could. It would also fill out the time because I'm pretty sure we won't need to go for that long. Speaking of which, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Flexo. And this is the year-end game show edition of Box Office Pulp.
Yay.
Let's meet our contestants. First up is a pure West Virginian coal miner who can only dream of getting out, getting anywhere, getting all the way to the FBI. Say hello to James Lewis, everybody.
Hey, should I look here?
Yeah, you're doing great, kid. Doing great.
Okay.
Just keep smiling for the camera. Anyways, next up is Mike Napier. Now, Mike, tell us why would a Starfleet admiral ask a 300-year-old frozen man for help?
Sexy.
We were looking for because he's better at everything, but that also applies.
He's better at looks.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck out there today. Anyways, last up, but certainly not least, is MB. Now, MB, it says here on this cue card that the D is silent, but payback won't be. Care to elaborate on that for us?
Well, you see, when a bunch of white slavers stole my black wife and put me to labor, I had to go and, mess with some white folks. So
Sad story. Well, we're all rooting for you. We want the best. But I mean,
Should
they're
have
going to
started
be
on such an
fighting.
offensive foot.
yeah, I like the way you died, boy.
Don't say that to the host. I control your points and fate.
James, rap.
Later.
Wrong,
That's
'cause I want
later.
a podcast till I die.
Well, that's enough formality. Let's start the game with our lightning round. Now remember, folks, all questions must be formed in the shape of an answer. Mathematical proofs of God's existence, or lack thereof, are required for bonus points, and 3 long beeps means the game is over and one of the players must commit seppuku to quell the shame against his family's honor. Now, shall we begin?
Ready?
Contestant number 2, are you ready?
Can you repeat that last part?
No. Contestant 3, are you ready?
I'm not playing your game.
You're playing the game.
Fine.
Luckily, you're not first. MB, fuck, marry, or kill the following Ryan Gosling films from 2013. Only God Forgives, The Place Beyond the Pines, Gangster Squad. Go.
Place Beyond the Pines.
Fuck, marry, or kill. You're forgetting parts of the story here.
Oh, well you spoke
All
too
of them.
fast. Yeah. Actually, I do extend all of them because Place Beyond the Pines is the only one I've seen.
I'm going to count that as a half point.
Okay. I'll take what I can get. I'll be honest.
That rounds down. Mike, if the budget for The Great Gatsby was used to pay for the production of Gravity, how many gravities would Warner Brothers have? To the 100th place. Are you going with, is 4 your final answer?
Where's my final answer?
The correct answer is 1.05 gravities. Sorry, tough luck on that one. Hard question.
Wait, what exactly would a 0.5 gravity be?
The production budget for The Great Gatsby was $1.05 million. I'm sorry, $100.5
Oh,
million.
we got you a strap, Flexo.
Fuck you on the host. I'll just edit this out. Moving on. James, how
No,
many
no,
Oscars?
no. Let's go back. I want to know what a fraction of a gravity is. It's like, is it just Sandra Bullock?
Gravity was $100 million, and Great Gatsby was slightly more than $100 million.
I'm just hoping it's like just one astronaut floating in space talking to no one.
It's just
This is all
it's
we
just
can
a pinky.
afford.
That's all we got. Anyways, James, quit stalling. How many Oscars will Leonardo DiCaprio be taking home after this year's Oscars?
If I had to choose, and I assume I'm choosing because you asked me,
Yes.
I would say 2. 1 for Best Actor. Curiously, the other, Best Sound Design.
Ah, interesting choice. However, the correct answer was none. None Oscars.
None
There's
Oscars?
no such thing.
None Oscars. None. They will take any that are near his vicinity and relocate them. Mike, pick a category. Sports, Marvels, or Mumblegore?
Sports.
Good choice. I would have gone with Mumblegore, so answer this question about You're Next. In what year was Adam Wingard's slasher film You're Next filmed?
Was it 2010?
Oh, no, 2011.
It was off by 12 months.
Tough break there, kid. Anyways, James, name my favorite Jaeger from Pacific Rim.
Damn.
That's not it, but I'll give you a second chance.
Voltron.
Ooh, Voltron. Well, interesting.
He was in there.
Also
was my favorite.
wrong. I'll throw this up there. Anyone, chance to steal. 5 seconds. 5.
Crimson Typhoon.
Oh, no. -1. 3.
Megazord.
2. Oh, everyone loses a point.
Ah. That means I have a negative point.
I still think I was right.
-half. The correct answer was Cherno Alpha. Nice try. Nice try, everyone. It's okay.
I'm still right.
No. You told me in private conversation that it was Mecha Alba.
We agreed not to talk about that in public. MB, what famous Formula One race car driver did Chris Hemsworth portray in Rush? Hint, the answer is not Thor, God of Thunder.
Captain America.
Ooh. That's actually the alter ego of James Hunt. I'm not going to be able to give that to you.
I think MB was right.
Well, that's why you're not the host. James, just what the fuck was the Collector wearing during the mid-credits scene in Thor, The Dark World?
The codpiece of the Watcher.
Very good answer. I didn't actually know. I'll give you a point for that.
Most fans wouldn't know that because he's always wearing the toga. And by the way, MB, that was Dale Earnhardt Chris Hemsworth was playing.
The number 8.
Oh, God. MB. In 12 Years a Slave, Michael Fassbender plays a slave owner. How many years would James play slave to Fassbender's sexual perversions given the opportunity?
He would never leave.
7.
That is actually the correct answer. I wrote forever, but never leave. Really, same thing. I'm going to give you 2 points for that, just because you're a mind reader.
All right.
Mike, softball question for you, just so you can catch up. Jane Levy in Evil Dead, more or less sexy while covered in blood?
More, but not as sexy as Deadite version.
Yeah. Oh, that's a 1.5 answer right there. You went above and beyond the call. Okay. If I could get a drum roll from someone in the audience while I calculate the totals here.
Drum.
Not half bad. No points, though. No points.
God damn it.
Okay, moving into our final question. Mike has a grand total of a half point.
Hey, let's go.
James has a total of 0 points. Neither bad nor good.
Hey.
And MB is destroying everyone with a grand total of 1.5 points.
Awesome.
All of this is completely meaningless, though, going into the final question, which is worth 100,000 points.
Is it a free-for-all?
Almost. Each one of you, one at a time, will give me your best sexy 80s guy movie pitch. And the one I enjoy the most takes all of the points, or can divvy them up as they feel. MB, since you have the most points, you have the option to either go first or elect third place. You can just pick third, I'm sorry. You can say your answer third.
All right. Well, I am going to be third.
Smart choice. Will it pay off, though? That means, Mike, you have to give me your pitch now.
Now, it's as sexy 80s guy, right?
Sexy 80s.
It's not a movie starring sexy 80s guy.
No,
Clear.
well, it could be whatever you want. Tell me the pitch, man. Make me believe. Tick-tock, Mike, tick-tock.
Okay, Flexo. This is
Okay.
what I got.
Go on.
A sexy dolphin comes back in time to 1983. And there he teams up with a sexy surfing lady. And they fight crime in old Detroit.
Oh. Now, how can we work in Morgan Freeman?
Morgan Freeman would play the old suave janitor who builds the time machine.
Ooh, I like it. But you gotta put me over the edge here. What's the title?
Well, you've just thrown me for a loop.
Oh, I was looking for a pun about Flipper. Not a bad
That's the
choice,
title.
though.
That's
I mean,
right.
you tried. You gave it a good shot. Let's see. Maybe MB will fuck up. But James, you're next. Hit me with your best sexy 80s guy movie pitch.
Okay. We open bright sunny beaches. A child's playing in the water.
I can see it. I'm
Everything's
there.
idyllic. His mom, he's sitting on the beach. sunbathing. She's not topless, though, because it's a community beach. They have standards. All of a sudden, you hear a child's voice. Mom, help me. What is it? Could it be a shark in the water? It's a fucking shark in the water.
Ooh.
Boom. Cut to black.
I got chills.
Fade back in. A phone's ringing in a New York apartment. A man answers it. He's currently wearing cut-off jeans and a bandana. Hello, you got a sexy problem that needs solving? I see. I'll be on the way. Slams the phone down, hops into his sexy jet, and goes down to the town of Amity.
Did you just convince me to watch a remake of Jaws? I think you did.
He walks into the community meeting. They're all arguing. He scrapes his fingernails on the chalk. I'll find this shark, and I'll make sweet love to him for free. He hops onto his jet ski and takes off. There's a thrilling chase scene where he has to chase down the shark, but he doesn't know if he can truly kill it, because at heart, Sexy 80s Guy is a shark himself. It's like the old man in the sea, with cut-off jeans.
I don't know if I like all this literature stuff. Tell me, can the shark be topless?
Yes, it's a sexy lady shark.
I'm back in it.
He did want to make love to it.
I didn't know if we were aiming for a PG-13 or hard R. It makes a difference.
I think if you go like the James Cameron route and just show like one boob in a very tasteful scene with,
we can pay that
a
off.
very sappy song playing, totally get PG-13. Plus you get the sequel where Sexy 80s Guy finds an entire civilization of mer sharks. And if you want to do a shared universe thing, you throw in Aquaman.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but this is plagiarism. Hero just described the plot of Sexy 80s Guy meets Piranha 2, released in 1989, saying that the sequel idea was not plagiarism. So I think you should get points for that.
To be honest, I was plagiarizing the pilot to Mercy Reef.
I'm going to pass on presenting judgment just to the fact that it gave me chills. MB, you're up now. I don't know if you can possibly top the idea of remaking Jaws with Sexy 80s Guy. I mean, I'm in love with that concept. I want to take it home and marry it.
Well, here's the thing. Hero did steal half of my concept, but I came back, and I think I have a new pitch.
You shouldn't have left those papers in that taxi cab.
I don't know what I was thinking either. It was a really rushed day. I had to get down to my 10 o'clock meeting in Times Square. But anyway.
Dangerous bastards.
Sexy 80s Guy. Imagine, if you will, World War II era Japan. Sexy 80s Guy is in the bottom of a chamber, but then the chamber opens up. And who is there for him? Peter
Hugh Jackman. Oh, okay. All right.
Peter Weller wants him to join Starfleet in order to hunt down the villainous Khan. So Sexy 80s Guy goes to the future, and he joins Starfleet. But then he realizes that he must become a bank robber, otherwise he won't be able to fund his own Starfleet Academy training. So he becomes a bank robber, but he gets shot by Bradley Cooper. So when he's falling out and he lands out of the window, he falls into the sea, and he has flashbacks to Diane Lane teaching him about how to use his Sexy 80s powers. So when he wakes up, he's still in the future, and he finds his alternate self, who looks suspiciously like Tom Cruise. So then, when he finds his alternate self, he has this soul-searching journey that involves Morgan Freeman somehow. I don't really know what exactly that was about. He manages to find his way to Asgard. And there, Malekith the Accursed is attacking. But Malekith has also brought a legion of Deadites. So Sexy 80s Guy has to fight the Deadites while trying to figure out the secret of his alternate self, while supporting his child by Eva Mendes, while still hunting Khan.
My God.
But then, he slowly begins to unravel a plot, a conspiracy, if you will, that has plagued his existence his entire life, involving General Zod. So, who does he turn to?
Is it Kevin Costner?
No. Even better. The Rock.
Oh, he's pretty much made a box office money. And muscle.
He teams up with G.I. Joe.
And Bruce Willis? He's there with The Rock and Bruce Willis?
Yes.
Oh.
And Snake Eyes.
Oh.
So Sexy 80s Guy looks for the meaning of his existence. while still hunting Khan, while still trying to wreck with the pain of having killed his own lover, when suddenly he's attacked by Ben Kingsley Mandarin. Ben Kingsley Mandarin is actually a fake. For it turns out that Ben Kingsley Mandarin is actually Peter Weller himself, who is turncoat. Now, how will Sexy Age Guy figure out how to beat Peter Weller? Well, in order to do that, he will have to fight the Silver Samurai. And
Of course.
how will that resolve? Well, you'll just have to watch the movie and find out.
All I can tell you is, the only note I wrote is 6 exclamation points followed by $19 and 3 underlines. You,
I'm
sir,
sorry.
have just won Box Office Pulp, the movie edition. Congratulations.
I'm sorry, Flexo. I hate to rain on his parade, but the majority of that plot was plagiarized from the 2004 romantic comedy Over Her Dead Body.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference in Hollywood?
The big difference was that took place in Middle Earth, but still the same basic idea.
We can call it an original idea, gentlemen. We'll make billions.
Oh, I forgot to mention, at some point the kaiju come in. So.
And there are robots. It has it all, gentlemen.
Can he be disqualified since he went last?
No, he got the choice of going last because he kicked your asses during the lightning round.
I know, but I feel like,
Do you want everyone to get a trophy, Mike? Is that what you're after? Because that is not the game show this is.
No, Flexo, I just want you to get a trophy because you're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks, buddy. All right, everyone. So now back to the actual podcast.
That wasn't the podcast.
I don't know what it is.
You never turned the recorder on, did you?
I hope I did. Yeah, it's still recording. We're good.
Fucking
Can we
hate
just-
you so much.
Can we just make it a wrap right here and have that be the end of the show?
That was amazing, I have to say.
I'm more surprised Flexo allowed me to have any points at all.
I was when I originally designed it, you were just going to be just destroyed. Like I was going to, nope, a -5. I'm sorry, that was so close, but no, negative.
Yeah, why
Even
am
if
I
you got it
not
right, I was going to be iffy, but
Why am I not surprised?
that's why I gave you the easy one with Evil Dead because I figured no matter what, I'd give you like 1 point.
You still made me go first on the.
I like how
Pitch
you
thing,
felt
so it evens
sorry
out.
for him in this fictional game show. Well, I might as well give him 1 fake point.
I feel bad for everyone. Everyone got some fake points, except for actually James. You got it balanced out. You got a negative and a positive.
Story of my life.
So I have no idea how to really segue that into the larger podcast here, but folks, we originally gathered to talk about the year 2013 and
Hell of a
film.
year.
Hell of a year, fine year. Not great for wine.
Damn fine year.
I mean, right now I'm watching Star Trek Into Darkness. So I mean, hey, that was a movie that came out this year. Fine
Are
year.
you currently watching Star Trek Into Darkness?
I actually am.
Have you gotten to Khan yet?
Khan just crushed a guy's head.
Nice.
I'm not going to say whose because spoiler, it is Peter Weller.
Look at you gave up there.
There.
Spoilers. Darkness dies.
Darkness dies at the end after coming into darkness. My mind didn't know how that joke was going as it came out, and I'm like, oh, we've got to commit.
My sperm trekked right into darkness.
Ooh, why wasn't that the porn parody? Anyways, I think someone mentioned earlier today that they didn't see that many 2013 releases, and I kind of sat
By
down and I
someone,
thought,
you mean me.
well, I didn't want to point any fingers. And I was just kind of thinking to myself, yeah, I missed a lot of them too. So this will be an interesting chat, or maybe like 5 minutes long. Who knows? But going off of that,
If push comes to shove, we can just do another game show.
just make another one up on the spot. I'm not made of games.
MB, I will give you $5 out of my pocket if you give me that coat.
Get this coat when you pry it out of my cold, dead hands.
I don't want to die. I just want a coat. Also, why are you cold? You got a coat.
Listen, you can either choose to be cold or dead.
Oh,
You
fine.
can die being cold.
I just want to talk about Pacific Rim.
We all want to
come
talk
out in
about
2013.
Pacific Rim.
Fantastic film,
Gotta
that.
get that coat first.
We're not talking about Pacific Rim.
We don't have to go that far into Pacific Rim. I just want everyone out there who did not see Pacific Rim during this year to feel shame
Well,
and envy because I did see it, and you should see it too. So go track down a
Well,
copy.
it's funny you say that because out of the 4 of us, I'm the only one that hasn't seen Pacific Rim.
You should feel shame.
I do.
That's okay. I'm glad. I forgive you.
You should feel ashamed and warm.
I do feel ashamed and warm.
I hope you enjoyed that warm feeling. It won't last.
It will as long as I have this coat.
Damn, you're right.
It's actually made up of Pacific Rim tickets.
It's 2013. MB has a warm coat. But how long will it stay warm? Only time will tell.
I'm just leisurely sitting.
Bomb.
My eyes are crossing.
Coat.
God, we should not be allowed to make movies. They would be terrible.
MB's new coat. Coming to IMAX.
Bomb.
Just
Sorry,
you walking
Morgan
around.
Freeman.
Oh, this is a nice coat.
The trailer is MB behind a glass cage. James Bond is asking him questions about his coat.
I take out the seam of it. Somehow half of my body goes limp.
Look what you did! Mother.
This coat makes me warmer than everyone. Bomb. So if you can't tell, Star Trek Into Darkness is entertaining. I don't want to say the greatest film ever made, but entertaining.
Good movie.
I'm looking through the list of other movies that came out in 2013 that I have in my collection, and some of these I'm not proud to admit I own, but they're there. I've got Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters, which bit of a letdown. I'll be honest about that.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's all right. There's The Conjuring, which I thought was fantastic.
Good movie.
Yeah. I own Epic. I have not watched Epic, but hey, it's got Christoph Waltz as an animated bad guy, so that's pretty cool.
By the way, I hope this is the entire podcast.
Just me reading lists.
Going down a list. Ooh,
That's my favorite
the
activity.
room's pretty good.
I want to make a podcast just about me reading lists. It'd be great.
I would so do that podcast with you.
I made this list
The
myself.
Listcast.
The Listcast. We've even got a name. Why aren't we doing that podcast instead of this? Anyways.
Episode 26, Types of Rocks. Sedimentary.
This one's called Mica. It flakes.
And now the limestone segment.
Take it away, James.
Every episode's like 4 hours long. It's a video podcast.
Next up, we're going to list words from the dictionary in our 18-part special, The Dictionary.
Chrysanthemum. Ooh, that was a fun one. I don't know, Flexo. I feel a little conflicted on chrysanthemum.
It's a fun word to say. You gotta give it that. Come on. Fuck it, you're right. That's a hard word. Play-Doh. That's an easy one. Play-Doh.
We got any synonyms for that? Oh, let's not go into our next episode, the thesaurus.
Spoilers. Right.
I don't want to shoot our wad in just the 28th episode.
That was
God
just an
damn it.
episode of a movie podcast.
We're getting away from my list, goddammit.
We're getting away from your list, talking about other sexier lists.
So I also own Evil Dead. Now, there's a bit of a difference of opinion on this guy here. I think I might warm up to it eventually, and I definitely appreciate some of the aspects of the film, but as a whole, not my favorite film of all time.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment. You weren't able to join us on our Evil Dead podcast. What were your thoughts overall?
We had so much fun, Flexo.
I know, and I was
There was
sad.
chocolate.
Oh, man. Evil Dead's alright. No, I really appreciate the practical effects. I feel like they shot their wad a little too early, and they tried to play that line of, is it real, isn't it real?
I don't know if I got that impression from it.
Yeah, and I don't know, some of the stuff in there, like, killing the dog, just felt tacked on.
Well, no one likes to see a dog die.
That's kind of why it's like, oh, why did that get in there? And we see, like, one scene with the dog, like, you almost forget it's there. So there are parts I enjoy and parts I feel like, this was a little half-assed. And considering it's Evil Dead, I've got a lot of fondness for that series as a whole. It's hard for me to just fully embrace it. Besides that, I mean, Evil Dead was a product of blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, they made that movie for, I'm pretty sure, 13 pennies. Whereas this Evil Dead, it had like a real budget and guidance. Not going to say real movie stars, but there were people involved, So they had a lot more.
I wouldn't say it had that much of a budget.
Yeah, but I mean, in comparison, we've got like a bunch of college kids in Tennessee trying to make a film for the first time as compared to a guy who's kind of being mentored through the process.
I would say it fulfills the Evil Dead spirit and just in being a batshit crazy movie from a first-time director. I think it's like the soul of the Evil Dead franchise.
No, definitely.
I'm hoping there's, I would like to see a sequel. I kind of hope it goes a little bit more towards that ending, because I was really into the film when it hit the ending. It starts raining blood. There's a chainsaw fight. I was for that. That was okay. That held my attention. If I can get a whole
You're always
film
happy to
with
see a
that,
chain sulfide.
hey, who isn't? If you can get that level of intensity stretched out over an hour and a half, I'd be all smiles.
Yeah, like I said in the episode, Evil Dead was a good movie for me. Maybe just like on the verge of okay until that ending, which brought it completely over the edge for me.
For me, it was kind of and I also wasn't on the actual Evil Dead episode, I don't think. But
I don't.
What is this, some
remember.
kind of confrontation?
but
Hero and I will take you all on.
But for me, it was a bit. I don't know how to describe it. Actually, I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, I felt like it was actually this applies to a lot of movies this year. Is that I really enjoyed it, but I felt like there were some undercurrents of just stuff that could have been done better, which is mostly due to pacing. Like pacing was the big thing with me that I kind of didn't enjoy that much about it, which was I felt like if it were a genre movie that had been the first of its kind, that would be one thing, but because this was something that was a remake and knew it was a remake and very clearly tried to do new things with it, I felt like it hit a bit too much cliche territory in some parts.
Yeah.
I could say that. To be fair, I agree that there were some problems with pacing and definite spots character development, though. From what I understand, that movie was cut down very far from the original cut that Alvarez made.
Yeah, I heard that too, actually.
And part of my issue was that it kind of got into a pattern of, someone walks into a room, a door slams shut, a deadite pops out, person X confused, a little scared, copious amounts of gore, everyone else walks into the room. Like rinse and repeat until everyone's pretty much dead.
I will say, though, that the one reigning positive of it that is pretty much the single positive of the entire film throughout every part of it, no matter what flaw it has, is Jane Levy's performance. I think
Definitely.
I think that is one of the single most impressive horror performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will disagree with you on that.
The start. I really hope this is the start of big new things for that actress because I want to see her in everything now.
Yeah.
Just everything about her is good. Just not just her performance, but the way she looks. She doesn't even look like any other actress you've seen. There's just something new about her.
Now, you said you'd like to watch her in anything. Would you like to watch her in a horror remake of Ghost Dad?
Yes.
Mm.
Well,
Plays
yeah,
Bill
that'd be
Cosby's
amazing.
character.
How is that even a question?
Would she wear blackface?
Well, no, she wouldn't have to. Jeez.
No, I thought she might be the Bill Cosby character.
Well, she wouldn't be Ghost Dad at all then.
What is
Yeah,
this?
but
Some kind of a reimagining?
Just,
Enough of this Planet of the Apes shit.
Well, I should not have opened my mouth. Going down the list, we also had Frankenstein's Army this year. If you're into armies
that's a
and
movie.
Frankensteins and found footage that's only attempting to be found footage,
It's
It's a movie
attempted.
when Mike saw, wasn't it?
I saw it. I don't know if Mike saw it. I'm assuming
I
he saw
told
it.
you to see it, so yes.
Ah,
Yeah,
That's how
a
that thing
movie
works.
That's a movie we were talking about on our summer movie episode. So did you both enjoy it, or what?
I've got a really fond spot for found footage, and I won't say the movie's amazing, but the monster
Yeah.
designs are awesome, and it's a fun ride. But there's
It's just fun. It's like being. It's like just.
it's like being in a
going to
haunted
stuff
house.
like- exactly. It's just. It's like that's it. Just jumping out at you and looking at cool things. That's pretty much it.
I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I know the monster design in particular looks amazing.
It's really cool. It's kind of a shame that it's found footage just because the shaky camera prevents you from really seeing all of the costumes in their full glory.
I'm not sure why it was found footage. I mean, besides getting that like POV kind of monster house kind of shot, but other than that,
Yeah,
like
they could have just snuck that in there, just like Doom's first person,
yeah, 'cause
It
all the
makes
designs didn't have to hold up to anything. So
yeah. I guess it kind of makes like a good selling point too. Like, oh, check it out, found footage. World War
yeah,
II.
that's World War II color footage and with no
perfect
grain
sound.
and amazing sound. Everyone's mic'd up.
I've always wondered why, with the whole found footage genre, nobody just does a movie that's a completely POV movie. It's like, then you don't have to explain the fucking camera. It's like there's no camera. It's just you're just looking through a guy's eyes.
Actually,
Well,
it's funny
even
you
the
say
blinks.
that. It's funny you say that because I'm pretty sure that's what the Maniac remake from this year did.
Oh yes, I forgot about that. Actually, I heard that was very good.
Yeah, I've been hearing that too. I haven't seen it yet, but everyone's told me it's fantastic. Even people that don't really care for horror films all that much, which is a little strange.
It stars Elijah Wood, who I think I've said this before. I love how Elijah just plays perverts and serial killers now.
He's trying to confess.
After Frodo, that's it. He's not playing a hero again. He is
Frodo was
killing
the
the
first
cute
one.
and cuddly in the bud.
You don't want to see the things he did with that ring.
Oh.
Oh, Mr. Sam.
I'm not leaving you, Mr. Frodo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. Ooh. I've also got Gangster Squad, which was pretty much forgettable. Like, I can't really say much about Gangster Squad at all. It just slips right from my mind.
Yeah, it seemed like a movie everyone was really getting pumped for, and then it just evaporated.
Yeah. Bit of a shame.
Yeah, I've yet to actually see it, but I still do want to see it just because of curiosity's sake. I have no expectations of it being good now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's bad or appalling or anything. It's just, alright, like it happens. You watch it, you forget about it. It just doesn't stick with you for some reason.
I want to see it just to see Emma Stone in something again. Just seriously, was she kidnapped last year or something? What the hell happened to her?
She signed a contract for the Spider-Man series. Now they'll never let her go.
Like, are her and Ellen Page on an island somewhere?
Oh, wait. I like that mental image. Keep going.
I didn't say it wasn't a sexy island.
We've lost Mike.
Well, we can assume, can't we?
Maybe it's a survival island. Maybe they're battling for food right now.
Well, quite
No, they're
frankly, they're gonna get bored after a while. I mean, you survive all day, then you have some downtime at night. What else are you gonna do? Let me have my fun, god damn it, with little tiki torches made of coconuts or something.
You say that as a joke. I am sure there's some kind of slash fiction around here. Oh, her breasts were illuminated by the moonlight and the tiki torches.
Quick, someone jump on Tumblr and make hertikitorches.com. Like, just save that URL, and I don't know if we can make any money off this Tumblr business, but that's how we'll do it.
The official box office pulp / fiction.
Box Office Pulp recommends Tiki Torch / fiction. Don't. No, I don't. You'll get slivers. Don't do it. It's a dark path. You don't want to go
We
down that.
respect that recommendation.
I do.
But more of this
That was a
island.
lie.
What would Lord Ankh-Potep think?
Get down with it.
For some reason, I also have several threes here. Let's see, we got Hatchet 3, which, I don't know, is anyone here a huge Hatchet fan?
I still haven't seen Hatchet 2.
I haven't
Yeah,
seen
never
any
seen
of the
it.
movies, though. They've always had my interest.
I keep sticking with them, even though they're just alright. I mean, it's great to get an old school kind of slasher, Jason Voorhees type character back on screen, but I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me that much. I keep watching them. It's like a weird addiction.
Question.
Yes.
Are there any more references to Behind the Mask?
Not that I am aware of, although they do get the lead actor from Gremlins as one of the characters.
D.B. Cates?
No.
No.
Oh, then no one cares.
Just tells the Santa Claus story again. It's really horrifying.
In the middle of Hatchet. It's the scariest part of the movie.
Can we do an entire episode just based around Phoebe Cates' character from Gremlins?
I don't see why not.
Because she fascinates me. What a horrifying life that character has.
Yeah, Joe Dante just... Sometimes, that man. Bless him. We also have Iron Man 3 on the list, which we'll skip over quickly because I'm pretty sure Mike's blood will just pour out of his face.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
What?
he hasn't seen it. I'm the one that saw it, and holy crap.
I still haven't bothered to see Iron Man 3. It's just... I'll see it one day, but I think I'm with Mike on that. My interest pretty much evaporated once the Kingsley twist was revealed to me.
I keep saying over and over, this is the one point I stress about it, is that it has a really good first and second act, and those two parts are actually Iron Man movies. So you can consider that the sequel, but then the moment that he goes to search for the Mandarin, it all goes downhill. And not just because of the Mandarin twist either. That's what blew my mind, is that that's not even all that's wrong with the third act. Like, it just completely goes off the rails from that point, and then just goes even deeper and even deeper from that. So,
yeah, my big problem with the third act is that we get, the onslaught of generic supervillainy bad guys. Like, all of a sudden there's just a bunch of guys who are jumping around, shipping crates, spewing fire. It's like, eh.
Yeah. And also, Aldrich Killian is like, that was the big problem, was that if you're going to replace the Mandarin with another villain, at least make the other villain not that. Because there was nothing to that.
The weird thing is, if you have Guy Pearce, why not give him like a really meaty, awesome role? Because he can handle it. He'll do a great job at doing it, but it seems like movies are only interested in giving him tiny, thinly written roles.
Yeah, instead it's like he's just playing Guy Pearce as a supervillain. Which would be amazing if they actually wrote that as Guy Pearce as a supervillain.
Yeah, how is Guy Pearce breathing fire not amazing?
Guy Pearce,
how do you do
the supervillain, the film, coming this March.
Well, here's how you make it not amazing. You have him scream, "I'm the Mandarin," before getting beat up by Gwyneth Paltrow.
And Iron Man does nothing.
So it's an Iron Man movie. But I think I've said this before. The twist wouldn't be as bothersome if afterwards they then made Killian, the Mandarin, or at least that level of a villain. But instead, after that, it just seems like he becomes a generic Justin Hammer knockoff.
Yeah.
Which is bad when you consider Justin Hammer is just a
less interesting version of Obadiah Stane.
Yes. Yeah. When Justin Hammer is just a Obadiah Stane knockoff.
There's only one villain in the Iron Man series. Just don't trust any business dude in a suit.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with the fact that if Guy Pearce had actually become, like, full-on Fu Manchu Mandarin, like, if he somehow went even crazier with it and looked like exactly like the comic book Mandarin with it, and wasn't even, like, the vaguely Mandarin-ish, like, Osama bin Laden version that Kingsley was playing, which was an awesome version, I think that the movie would have actually went up several notches. Instead, it's like, well, it has a good beginning and middle part, and then it just nosedives. Like, it completely nosedives.
Well, it's just a little frustrating, too, because, like you said, the Mandarin they have portrayed is amazing. I don't even really care about the Mandarin from the comics, to be honest. But the way that villain was portrayed was really interesting. There was just a lot of mystery to it, and he felt like, oh, this could be a fresh, cool take on how villains work in films.
Yeah, I loved, actually, the terrorist Mandarin type thing, because it fits with, like, going back all the way to Iron Man 1, it fits so well within that world, it feels like.
And I also like how they were portraying him as the Tony Stark of terrorists.
Yeah.
With his bling and his honeys. Like, that was like a really cool ultimate Mandarin.
Yeah.
Like you said, it seemed way more interesting than Mandarin in the comics.
Yeah, so that was why I was upset. Like, I didn't care about the twist itself, and it really did surprise me in theaters, so, that was unexpected. It's just what they replaced that interesting character with wasn't as interesting.
Yeah.
So again, I don't care. They could have put in like a normal white guy calling himself the Mandarin. Don't care.
Yeah.
As long as he had enough interest to him and, something developed there.
If he actually had, like, a point, it didn't feel like he had a point. It felt like they did the twist and they were like, oh, what do we do now? We need a third act. Well, Guy Pearce is in the movie, so.
Yeah, and like we said, it's such a shame because I really love the energy and the humor that they managed to bring into the series.
Yeah, I mean, Downey Jr. is still, like, at the peak of his Tony Starkness. I mean, he's
just a blast to watch.
Yeah, he's never not going to be Iron Man. Like, he's never going to run out of steam with that character because he's essentially just playing himself as a superhero. Like, you can tell every time he plays the role, he's just having the time of his life. So,
well,
that's
the Shane Black script too. I mean, it just brought even more energy to it. It felt like 2 was a little stale already, and 3 managed to kind of give it a little more zip.
Yeah, which again would have been beneficial if it kept, like, a consistency, but then the third act is like, it's really kind of morose once it hits the third act. It's like there's really nothing to it. But yeah, I really kind of wasn't. I left the theater with a bad taste in my mouth, and that's the first time I've really ever done that with a movie. Like even with like something like Green Lantern, I didn't really leave the theater like angry like I was with Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3. So
Now, before we move on, I just want to say the one thing that would have made that movie 1,000 times better and would have healed all wounds, instead of Killian, Justin Hammer as that character. Just the movie ends with fucking Sam Rockwell with a Fin Fang Foom tattoo, breathing fire and screaming, "Hey, I'm the Mandarin!"
while he breakdances.
Take my money.
Okay.
Moving on.
Lexo, this is a robbery.
Oh, no.
This is the third time this has happened.
Every time we get on to record, you guys rob me.
I'm getting sick of
What do
it.
you even do
Fool
with
me
that money?
3 times, shame on you. Fool me 4, still shame on you. It's cruel.
Only a bad person would fool somebody 4 times. It's just cruel at this point.
That's the mantra I live my life by. It's going to be on the family tomb.
We don't even spend Flexo's money. We just
Just
fill the
roll
mannequin
around.
out of it. Like so money mannequin.
Did I tell you I
We
almost
throw it
died
around
rolling in a
and
pile of money one time? Take that as a no.
Are you
Well,
Scrooge
you
McDuck?
didn't.
That was where I got my inspiration. As a kid, I would collect pennies, and I had this gigantic, like, mega gulp cup filled with pennies. And one day I filled it completely, like I could put no more pennies in the cup. So I dumped them out on my floor, and I just started rolling around in them. And I was eating like a Hershey Kiss at the time, and somehow, don't ask me how, I swallowed a penny. And so I started choking. I had a penny lodged in my throat.
No, stop talking. Back it up. How?
So I dumped out the big cup, and I was swimming through the money like Scrooge McDuck.
Like, first of all, I just want to acknowledge how fucking gangsta it is to imagine little Flexo rolling in money while eating a Hershey's Kiss. Singing a lap dance, I assume.
Money! Money!
Wait, did you drop the Hershey's Kiss onto the money and were just so overwhelmed with greed you just made a fist and shoved it in your mouth?
Look, I honestly don't remember. I remember enjoying a Hershey's Kiss, swimming in my piles of pennies, and then choking to death.
Not even nearly choking to death. You literally died.
I'm a ghost. No, so I like ran back in my room and my mom was like, "What's going on?" She walked back there and I was hiding underneath the desk, choking to death on a penny. So she managed to like do a Heimlich type thing, and I coughed it all up, Hershey Kiss and the penny, and since that point I am not swam in cash.
Did she make you wear a helmet afterwards?
No, I probably should have.
Wait. By the way, it was because while you were eating the Hershey's Kiss, you were scatting the entire time. Just how much would hail?
In my money, swimming through the pennies,
Okay, what I gather from this is that Flexo has a lifelong fear of swimming in money now.
I'm kind of like the boy who lived, only instead of with dark magic, it was pennies and Hershey's Kisses. And there's probably like no cool forecast about my future.
Yeah.
You just walk by a gumball machine filled with Hershey's. The price is 1 penny. You run away screaming.
No.
How did they find me?
So what I'm trying to say is, if you're listening at home and you have a small child, don't let them swim in pennies. It's a serious issue, and I'm sure tens of people have died over the history of mankind doing it. So
You gotta bring awareness to this.
that's right. That's why I did this podcast. It was the long con.
Yeah.
It would make a hell of a movie.
You've never actually
folks
seen
at
any
home-
movies.
For the folks at home, I just want to point out, Cody is an accountant. So he deals with money for a living.
That's all I do. It's actually IT, but money, accountants, IT.
Like, where you're
whatever.
like Batman, like, money terrifies me. That's why I have to confront it.
I just dress up as a giant penny and I run around solving crimes.
Whoa.
It's like Black
Just wheeling
Dynamite. I'm the guy
something.
dressed up like the donut.
Cha-ching.
I'm gonna Google Smash.
It's like you're undercover in the Batcave, just trying to get intel.
I sneeze. Batman, what was that? Nothing. Okay. Back to the Bat Peter.
This is the dumbest fucking thing.
This whole podcast was a little special.
I don't know when this podcast was about movies.
It's still there's some movie talk.
Better now.
Do you guys want to talk about Jack the Giant Slayer? Because I just picked that up for Black Friday, and I feel like I spent $7 and maybe should get about 5 of that back.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's
So it was not up to usual suspects quality for Bryan Singer.
it's just I can't even say anything that bad about it. It's like it's all right. It has all the components of a film. There's some performances.
It was
people I
shot
have
on digital video.
Yeah.
Fluxo, please explain to us the components of film.
Well, in this particular film, it has an opening, and this opening starts with Jack being told about the beanstalk. Foreshadowing? Perhaps. But while he's being told the story, a princess is also being told the story in her castle. So we get the juxtaposition
it's like
between the
Stardust.
scenes. The poor kid in his hovel being told by his father, because his mom's dead, about how there's magic out there in the world. And the princess in her nice castle being told by her mother, because her father doesn't give a fuck, about there being magic in the world.
Does any point in this, does Ryan Reynolds go out in the backyard and dig up gold?
No, there's no Ryan Reynolds in this one.
God damn it.
Yeah, right? I mean, there's Ian McGregor, and he seems like he's having a good time.
Hey.
But it's very strange because it's called Jack the Giant Slayer, and Jack feels like an afterthought. It's like, hey, isn't Ian McGregor a lot of fun? Let's film him for a while. Oh, right, Jack is the hero. Oh, yeah. It feels like they're upset they have to go back to the protagonist of the film.
Does Ewan McGregor play the giant? Because that would be fascinating.
He does not. Bill Nighy plays one of the giants, a two-headed giant.
Wow.
And one of the heads is kind of special ed, which is entertaining, I guess, in a weird way.
Are both heads nigh?
No, I don't know if he voices both of them. One just kind of mumbles and says like 1 or 2 words. So it could be
Yeah,
him doing like a
like
weird
Nighy.
drooling impression of himself.
Is it just a giant Bill Nye with 2 heads?
He sounds
Bill
exactly the
Nighy.
same as Davy Jones.
So
But that's
Bill
not a
Nye.
bad thing. Yeah.
So he does the thing.
He pulls a Zoidberg every once in a while. No, he does not. It's also amazing because Jack the Giant Slayer just has terrible CGI. Like, I don't know how they spent $200 million on this thing and made it look like a giant turd from 2006.
Yeah, everything about that movie just looked like it was direct-to-video, or like a Sci-Fi Channel original movie. I can't believe Bryan Singer was attached to that.
Like, if I saw this on TV, I'd be like, oh, that wasn't that bad. But knowing it was a gigantic, huge movie, I'm just kind of like shaking my head over it. I can't believe this ever happened. I'm still confused.
Why movie?
Why? You betrayed me.
How giant?
Spoilers. Giants die in the end.
I was hoping it would be
Relax,
about Jack reaching peace with the giants.
Also, I'm not sure if
You have to
Jack
break
kills a
the chain
single
of
giant
violence.
throughout the movie. Oh,
That wasn't truth in advertising.
The title isn't even accurate. That's how bad the
let's see.
movie is.
Okay. He drops a beehive into one giant's mask, and it wakes up from a nap and then swats at the mask and gets annoyed until it falls off a cliff and dies. So I don't know if he...
Nick Cage?
No. Although that would have
Oh,
been
that'd
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Oh, they should remake this. And at the end, spoilers, he throws his last magic bean down Bill Nighy's throat, and it hits, all of his stomach acid, and it grows, and it turns to a giant tree and kills him. So I guess he does kill one giant by feeding him a giant magical bean.
That's not how botany works.
It is in this film.
Does Pepper Potts storm in and defeat the last giant for him?
No. So I guess, I don't know how you feel about that, but no Gwyneth Paltrow. I don't even want to talk about Jack the Giant Slayer anymore. It just makes me sad.
You brought it up.
I did. I'm reading a list. I am bound to the list.
You're-
And next
You're like
on the
Destiny.
list... Exactly. I can't deviate.
You're handcuffed to a sheet of paper.
It's an Excel sheet. Mama. Did you guys see Mama? Do you think Mama's alright?
I still haven't seen it, though. I really want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gotten the chance.
Neither have I.
I really enjoyed it. The ending's a little soft once they switch over to, reveal what's going on. It's not that deep or complicated of a plot. It's just a little soft. But the moods they establish earlier in the film and some of the more subtle scares are really well done. So I would definitely say rent it, check it out. Not sure if it's worth owning, but for a one-time view, it's definitely worth it.
Box Office Pope recommends Guillermo del Toro presents Mama.
Well, I recommend anything that guy produces. Del Toro produces good things.
The movies he produces actually get made.
Well,
If only he could just produce Hellboy 3.
we're going to ask you to not direct just because we want this to happen.
I'm sure he's been told that many times.
Whatever. We're getting more Del Toro now. He's on a roll. Excited for that. The future's going to be bright.
Well, let's wait for him to actually make something before we declare that.
He's working right now in pre-production for what's the name of that new one coming up? Fuck, I already forgot the name of it. The one with Tom Hiddleston?
Oh yeah, Crimson Peak.
Yes, Crimson Peak. I mean, hey, that's going. Plus, he directed
that's one.
He directed the pilot for The Strain. I mean, it's TV, but come on, that's something.
How did that actually get made?
I think they ordered like a 13-episode season, and he directed the pilot, but it's not coming out for a couple months or years. I don't know. It's coming eventually.
I think like late next year it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but I think they decided to produce a full
make
season.
Monster
That's really all we want in this world is for him to make Monster.
and direct every episode.
Yeah.
I mean, Guillermo Navarro can, he can sub every now and then, but the majority of the episodes.
I
The
think
Del Toro can't direct every
Navarro,
episode or else it won't happen. That's the problem.
I think Navarro actually directed a couple episodes of Hannibal, if I'm remembering right.
He did. They were
Yeah.
fucking gorgeous.
They were, good episodes.
What movie coming up is Navarro directing that I just read about?
He's directing a movie? Cool.
Yeah, I literally think I just read that like 2 days ago.
Did the
I don't
internet.
know what it was.
Oh, let's hear it for Guillermo del Navarro, everybody.
Moving on up. Oh, geez, I just spelled this guy's name so wrong, it gave me a different person.
Navarro always had the best cameos in the Blade films. I got nothing to back that up. I just know he was cameoed in the Blade films occasionally.
Let's see, cinematography, director. The only thing it's showing right now on IMDb is 3 episodes of Hannibal and a short called Blue-Eyed Sailor. So yeah, I don't know. He might be directing something. It just hasn't been entered on IMDb yet. Who knows?
We'll edit this podcast later whenever it's revealed.
We'll put it in. We'll pretend we knew the whole time.
Box Office Pope update.
It turns out J.J. Abrams is controlling his career, so he doesn't want to reveal anything too soon.
The mystery box says you won't find out ever. Let's see. I'm just going to rattle a couple of these off. Man of Steel. We've already talked about that a little bit.
I kind of want to make an addendum to that because I watched that earlier today.
Okay.
And-
Oh.
Oh.
How does it hold up?
Someone has eyes.
God,
I'm
it's
sorry.
you, Flex. So
I can't
Someone
help
has
it.
eyes.
I've got a
His
Snyder
giant
mark. I have to share it.
cyclopean eye.
Sorry, go ahead, MD.
Regarding Man of Steel, a couple months had passed since I saw it. The last time I had seen it was in the theater, actually. The only real scene I had watched between the theater and the release on like a bootleg or something was the first Krypton sequence. And, I kept hearing things over and over again, like people having more and more nitpicks with the film and going into greater detail and it getting analyzed to death. And I kept, kind of remembering things as like, yeah, they could have done that better. They could have done this better. I watched it today and actually it's got its flaws, but it actually does do a lot more right than I remember. Like it actually captures a lot of the tone of what I consider to be the Superman that I grew up with. And that was kind of the big thing I walked out of the theater with, I remember, because it was just something that I never really expected them to ever capture, which is the idea of a modern day comic book Superman. And it's got its misses in terms of plot, but I actually really like the work that they did with like the whole idea of General Zod's plot in that. I think he's actually way more compelling in the movie than he ever was in the comics.
Oh yeah.
That's a given.
So, and
More
also,
compelling than those 20 General Zods we've had over the years.
yeah. But I also think that there's a lot that's actually done right with the character of Clark, even though he does eventually kill Zod, and that's a big misstep. But honestly, like, it's just kind of a movie it's a really good movie that's bogged down by a few flaws. And to be fair, the destruction thing is way more apparent on the second viewing than it is in the first. And it kind of had this hilarious thing where I would watch a scene and there would be this big destructive moment. I'd be like, oh God. Oh God. And I'd just be relieved that it would be over. And then something infinitely worse would happen. It's like, oh.
The part where Zod ran over a nunnery just really made me sad. Then the orphanage. And when he picked up an orphanage and then he threw it into a puppy plantation, it was terrible.
I mean, yeah, Snyder had like a fetish or something going there. Like, I have no idea what he was thinking as far as that goes, because it's not even really the argument of Superman couldn't stop a lot of it because he's new. It's like Superman instigated half of that because he was just flying left and right into things.
Yeah, that was always weirded me out. It's like when he escapes, when he's being fired at by the jets, which you didn't think would bother him because he's Superman.
Yeah.
He flies himself through a building.
Yeah. And the whole, like, the reason they're in Smallville in the first place is he tackles General Zod. They go flying, like, 2 miles out, and they land within the city. Like, I think a lot of it would have been fixed. Like, I think a lot of the destruction scenes would have been justified if they just showed the fact that Clark was trying to isolate it from the rest of everyone else. Like, if they had just shown that Clark was more proactive in trying to isolate the destruction, but failing, even, like, they could still get away with what they were trying to do if they just showed that he was failing even though he was trying. I think it still would have worked a lot better as far as that goes, but the destruction aside and a couple beats here and there, I still think it is a really well-done Superman film. Like, I do feel like Snyder got a lot of flack that wasn't deserved as far as the movie goes, because even if it did have a lot of story beats that just were not as impressive as it should have been, it still holds up, I think, even all these months later. So, Man of Steel.
I'm sorry. I was going to say it's definitely a movie that gets more right than wrong, which people lose perspective on.
Yeah, which, I mean, I can see why people do that, but at the same time, I do feel like, why is a movie like Dark Knight Rises more fondly remembered than something like Man of Steel? I don't get that.
Nolan.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
I was going to say, personally, Man of Steel is a good movie. I think it's a very good movie. It comes really close to great often.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's just, I can't love it. It's not just, like, I think it's actually a very good Superman movie, or at least, even though it, kind of frays from that every once in a while. It's just certain things with the tone of it and certain just plotting decisions that were made and things that just keep me really from loving it. That I can't just look over them.
Yeah, I've cooled on the movie a great deal since I first watched it. Like, I remember coming out of the theaters, despite being upset about this odd thing, feeling like it was almost as good as The Avengers. And
yeah, that's how I felt.
Although I still think it's a pretty good movie. There are certain flaws that become a little more apparent in time. Like you were mentioning earlier, MB, about the whole destruction thing. Like, even more so than him killing Zod, the biggest flaw that appears when you think about the movie is you have it hammered into your head repeatedly for the first and second acts by every character that the worst thing that could ever happen is for Superman to exist. And then Superman appears, and you find out that they're all right. Whoa, holy shit. There shouldn't be a Superman.
He just destroyed all the city.
Like, why did they have him take down the ship into buildings?
Yeah, that was one of those parts where I was watching, I was like, it had just gotten through with a huge action set piece that took down like a whole city block, and I was like, oh my god, would this just end with, like, can they just get to the whole... I was actually praying for the scene where they snap Zod's neck.
It's weird.
Just for the madness to end.
And then the ship crashes, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Like, Superman killed like 50 people with that.
Like, I'm kind of hoping, like, when they do Batman Superman, like, Batman just beats the crap out of him.
I mean, even more, it's not even just the carnage, it's just from a philosophical standpoint, it seems
Well-
to take the same approach that Nolan's Batman movies took, where the idea is there really shouldn't be a Superman.
I don't really agree with that as far as like the Nolan movies, like that being the philosophical point of the Batman.
I'd say maybe with the third movie.
Well,
I
the
don't-
third movie is
I
just
don't-
about how terrible it is to be Batman.
I don't count the third movie, so with me, the biggest thing that they could have improved upon, which I really hope they do improve upon with the sequel, is just going out of their way to have Superman be more of a proactive hero himself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that was the movie's biggest flaw. It's like he's told by everyone that he needs to be Superman, and then he finally just says, "Well, all right." And whenever he becomes Superman, he just doesn't really. All he wants to do is punch Zod and the other Kryptonians. Like he doesn't really. You can tell he cares, but he's not doing enough about it.
Yes, that's always been the key difference between Superman and other characters is he's not the superhero who exists to fight supervillains. He's the superhero who's there to save people and
Like,
occasionally punch supervillains.
yeah, like fighting supervillains is almost an incidental thing that happens with him. Which,
Yeah, whenever I picture Superman, like my first image is always him like helping disaster victims or
yeah,
saving people from plane crashes and stuff like that, not necessarily him battling Brainiac.
So with Man of Steel, I mean, it definitely had flaws. I will say that, but I do feel like the negative backlash for it was so strong that I managed to come away with it just kind of saying, well, it's not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. I don't get why this is given the reputation it has while other movies don't have nearly this bad of a reputation.
I think it'd be interesting.
No movie this year was as bad as people made it out to be.
Yeah. But
Like, that was an interesting phenomenon this year where just nobody liked anything, and every movie that came out was the worst thing ever. Like, what do you think that's? Why do you think that is? If it's just blockbuster fatigue, or just people getting sick of franchises, or what?
I think it's just people expecting too much, honestly. Is that they every year, like, something else comes out that redefines a generation type of thing, and they just expect that now. They don't expect anyone to make movies. They expect people to make experiences and, like, tent poles almost in iconic film. Like, they expect a groundbreaking movie every year. And instead Hollywood just kind of said, no, we're just going to focus on making movies this time. And the world responded by basically hating everything.
I think The Dark Knight, to a certain degree, has kind of ruined blockbuster movies, because now it seems like people have forgotten how to just enjoy a pretty good movie.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say The Dark Knight is directly responsible for that. I think,
yeah, not directly, but
well, I say not directly. I think it is a part of it. I think it's just a culmination of different movies like that. Like, The Dark Knight is one part of a melting pot of movies that's just kind of screwed that over because people demand sophistication now instead of just high octane. Even though, like, the Marvel movies are insanely popular, and Mike and I were actually talking about Thor, The Dark World, and how the fact that it just seems to be over-inundated with humor. And that's really... People respond to that way better than they respond to something like Man of Steel. Which...
yeah, the Marvel has been very upfront with the idea of just making popcorn movies.
Yeah.
But the best, most high-quality popcorn movies imaginable. Now, they seem to be the only one that's kind of immune to the whole, oh, this isn't sophisticated enough thing that's plaguing movie criticism now.
Yeah.
Like, I think I mentioned this before, but the thing I always think of whenever that issue comes up is A.O. Scott's review of Kick-Ass, where he said, after The Dark Knight, I don't think we can tolerate superhero movies of this caliber.
Boy, I bet he just had a horrible time when he saw Kick-Ass 2.
Speaking of people who had a horrible time watching that movie, that was... Okay, I saw I just want to preface this. I saw 11 movies this year, and
Oh, Mr. Broadway.
the only reason that wasn't the worst movie I saw this year was because I was forced to watch The Call, which is that Halle Berry
Oh, God.
911 dispatch movie.
That movie made a ton of money.
By
Yeah.
WWE Film.
Just throwing it out there. That one was
Yeah.
like insanely successful for them. Who'd have guessed?
I don't know why, but yeah, that movie Kick-Ass 2 was abominable. That was okay. I love the first one. This one was horrible. Horrible on a level I never expected it to be. Like, there's no way. I could have never predicted something this horrible.
But wasn't
No,
Jim
the
Carrey
things
great?
you were worried were going to be bad ended up being way, way worse.
No, not even that. Like, the stuff I was worried about ended up being not as bad as what they came up with. Like, it somehow made a Mark Miller comic that I hated even worse.
If you'd like to read MB's review of Kick-Ass 2, go to boxofficepulp.blogspot.com.
Yeah. I didn't
Box
do my
Office
hate.
Pulp
I didn't do my
recommends
hate for the
not
movie
watching
justice.
Kick-Ass 2.
But yeah, I'm sorry to skip ahead on the list there, but I just...
Oh, doesn't matter.
Oh, Jesus.
It is not a comprehensive list. There's a lot of stuff that came
Yes,
out.
it is.
Well, it is, but I didn't want to brag. Just
You did.
what else? We had Monsters University this year. I'm always game for new Pixar, so exciting. Oblivion.
Was that solid?
Yeah, Monsters University was pretty good. I don't want to say it was as good as Monsters Inc. It didn't have the same emotional resonance for me, but it's still funny. It's still engaging. It feels like a lot of the other college party movies you've seen before, but more kid friendly, I guess.
I don't like the idea of supporting Billy Crystal.
This is the Billy Crystal we like.
Where you can't see him.
Yeah,
No,
Billy
there's-
Crystal is good whenever he's a monster of some sort. Just look at the Princess Bride. And I'm kind of worried about Pixar post Brave. Like, other than Cars 2, they haven't had any real, like, duds, but it seems like they could go either way right now that they're, owned lock, stock, and barrel by Disney, who just seems interested in sequels and toy opportunities.
We'll see. The Good Dinosaur
I
sounds like
don't-
it's got
I don't thi-
possibility.
Yeah, and I don't think that's Disney at all. Especially because Disney's pretty much controlled Pixar as much as they do now for years. And, I mean, Pixar has fluctuated more than people realize that they have. And I think with dinosaurs coming out, I think they'll kind of come back up. They've had a lot of behind-the-scenes creative shuffling this year. And it seems like they're kind of shedding some things.
Yeah, Brave was definitely a turning point, I think, for them because, wow, talk about a disappointment.
The Brave trailer fascinates me because it's like a trailer for 3 different movies at once.
Oh, I remember seeing that trailer I think it was a screening of Amazing Spider-Man, and I watched it, and I was like, I did pay to watch a Spider-Man movie, right? Like, this trailer is going 5 minutes later.
Yeah, I still have no idea what Brave is about.
In Brave's defense, I do know several people who really enjoy Brave. Like, I thought it was alright. It wasn't my favorite Pixar film, but several
That seemed
girls
to
have
get a
told
lot
me,
of
like,
love.
it's a really fantastic kind of...
I haven't heard that it's bad or anything. I just heard that, like, the hype for Brave was just so insane. Like, you would thought this was going to be the next Toy Story.
I think it's probably also the problem with Pixar is now whenever they release a movie, it has to be that kind of quality.
yeah,
no,
if it's not Wall-E,
most
it's a failure.
Yeah, and Pixar puts out those quality movies, but it's not like every single time. People need to kind of remember that. Like, sometimes they just make an enjoyable, fun movie.
Like, Toy Story 2 isn't that great. It's just good.
Toy Story
It
2 was okay.
It kills some time.
Yeah, the Zurg fight was cool.
And
Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer as an evil prospector. It was good.
I don't want to
Doesn't
talk
it
about
do
Toy
still-
Story 2. It's just alright.
I do still look forward to seeing Brave. Like, I'm sure it's not as bad as its internet reputation would lead you to believe. It does seem to have a very passionate fan base.
Yeah.
Well, shockingly, you can't go by what the internet says.
The internet? Strong opinions not grounded in facts? What?
Box Office Pulp doesn't recommend The internet.
Unless it's our internet. Box Office Pulp recommends ignoring all other internet, except for Box Office Pulp internet.
On an unrelated note, subscribe to Box Office Pulp on iTunes.
Visit our blog spot. Box Office Pulp.
And visit our Tumblr page, boxofficepulp.tumblr.com.
We're on Facebook, too. So, there's that. Box Office Pulp.
Check it out, y'all.
Back to your list, Cody.
We've got Oblivion, Oz the Great and Powerful, Pacific Rim.
I just want to say, I really liked Oblivion.
I enjoy Oblivion. I think it suffers from some of the same faults that you can find in Tron Legacy, but I don't think those faults are as strong as other people have made them out to be.
I thought it was, like, I heard about what they were talking about. Like, they criticized the story for being a little too thin. And
yeah, well, it's pretty much made up of every, sci-fi story and cliche and plot that's happened over, the last 30 years. Which is
I can see that, but at the same time, it's like, I felt that, I was fine with it. I just didn't, I kind of went away with the film just kind of being like, I didn't really have any problems with that. It just didn't, it wasn't mind-blowing amazingly, but it was just, it was enjoyable.
Yeah, and I mean, the set designs are fantastic. Oh, absolutely
the
fantastic.
Cinematography was just,
and,
the visuals in that movie.
Kaczynski does a really good job with action scenes, too. You can always tell what's happening. They're enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
So, on a very base level, it's fantastic to look at. It looks great. Yeah. I think maybe some of the characters ring a little hollow, but overall, it's definitely a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, it kind of says something when I don't really understand why Morgan Freeman was in a movie.
Morgan Freeman was there. I did feel that one twist kind of, I don't know how well it works in retrospect if you watch the movie again. Spoilers, no aliens.
Well, thanks.
Yep, no problem.
But once again, there is nothing wrong with a movie just being good.
Yeah. Which is the way I kind of felt with Oblivion, and actually that's the way I felt with G.I. Joe Retaliation, too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like if I really looked at this, I'd probably find a million different flaws, but I'm just going to go away enjoying it. I watched it, I liked it, end of story.
That's how I feel about Oz the Great and Powerful. People shit all over that movie, but I'm like, it's beautiful. Plus,
it is a pretty goddamn movie.
It's an absolutely beautiful film. It's Sam Raimi. I always love his little flourishes, so to me it's got a little bit more personality and quirk than a lot of the other big CGI fests out there.
People shut the fuck out of that, but I didn't love Oz the Great and Powerful, but I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
people were angry it wasn't Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that it had one simple theme and it just stuck to it for the entire film, which it was nice. It basically had one thing to say. Sure, it wasn't complicated, but it said it. It didn't waffle. It didn't present a convoluted, weird, mythology that muddled everything. It just made sense.
I didn't want to be complicated and pretend to be while trying to tell one simple thing. That was a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I would say it's more functional than, showy in that sense. Which is weird because the movie itself is pretty damn showy.
Oh, yeah. I just felt it dragged kind of in the middle for a little while. It kind of meandered a bit.
Yeah.
But then picked back up in a pretty great way.
It was interesting, too, that the big finale was basically done without any, major violence. No one's getting cut in half.
Yeah.
They managed to pretty much do a bloodless big finale.
Just by Oz being a giant dick. Kind of amazing.
That's James Franco's superpower in the film.
This guy, I want to go back.
Spontaneously grows a mustache.
I want to go back and rewatch every other version of Wizard of Oz and think Wizard's James Franco.
He just wanted to fuck the Good Witch of the West, and that's why all this is happening.
That's all I wanted, guys. Why did it have to turn out this way?
Wait. That makes it really fucked up that the wizard sends Dorothy to kill the witch.
Eventually, yes.
Take care of this ex-girlfriend for me.
It's odd.
So I can go home.
It is odd.
Fuck you, future Franco.
Man, this just ruins the wizard for me now. Oh well.
He was so nice beforehand.
He was such a charming fellow.
He was always a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's true.
A humbug.
Except the Tin Man version, because that was just a drunken fucking Richard Dreyfuss.
Which is lovable in its own way. Speaking of Franco, we also got This Is the End this year.
I really want to see that. I heard nothing but good things about it.
Hilarious. Everyone in that film is hilarious. And I love the way they kind of tapped into making it a horror film without making it overly horrific. Like, the horror doesn't overwhelm the comedy at any point. It's always funny. It's crude, but it's hilarious. Probably the funniest film I saw in the last year, or probably more than that. I can't think of something funnier than that.
Plus, it has action, Emma Watson.
That too. Stoker came out this year. Did you guys see that?
I still
I've
want to
been
see
meaning
that.
to see that.
I really dug that one. Thought it had a very cool psychological kind of approach to a horror film. So maybe you want to call it a thriller, I guess, but I don't know. I really dug it. I thought it was great. I maybe didn't understand all the references or the symbolism going on throughout the film, but
Well, it's Chan-wook Park.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
surprised there's not a giant ant that appears at one point.
Like, the movie's weird, I guess, but it all gels together. It's not like one element is so odd that it disrupts the film. But there's enough weird stuff going on where it's like, wait a minute, why does she have superpowers, and why isn't that a bigger part of the story?
Because
Just cause. Okay.
Chan-wook Park thinks that all white people have superpowers.
They can hear. They
Shelters.
can hear like the Wolverine.
It's like over in Korea, they just mythologize little white girls. Like, they think Powerpuff Girls is a documentary.
They're trying to stockpile all the sugar and nice and spice they can get their hands on.
I'm just imagining Chan-wook Park walking around Hollywood with a giant map, wondering where Mojo Jojo is.
He's on the store tour and very upset.
He's trying to find Spike Lee so he can go kick his ass.
all I can imagine is fucking standing outside Mojo Jojo's house. He goes out to get the paper wearing fucking a robe and shit. Everything's live action around him except him.
He's wearing a live action robe.
He just had a big drug night and he's really pissed off that people are taking pictures of him. He storms them, grabs their camera, smashes it. There's a big lawsuit. Chan-wook Park's there. He's just devastated that his hero has just been seen what he really is, just a monster, just a talking monkey monster.
He smashes his camera, never to film again.
And dark.
Park no more.
So yeah,
Anyway,
there was that. With VHS 2, which we've already spoken about in length.
Very enjoyable.
Yeah.
which also led to my favorite episode of this podcast. You should listen to.
If there's only some way we could communicate the fact we're all drinking refreshing Pepsi Cola. Product placement. Wolverine came out. I just watched that the other day. I thought it was mostly okay. I was pretty much along with it until the generic bad guy fight at the end.
This is gonna sound weird, but the Wolverine was actually my favorite movie of the year.
Really?
Actually,
Yes,
mine too,
Offended at
probably.
B.
I was honestly like really impressed with it, like beyond what I thought I would be, and I wasn't really like not looking forward to it or anything. It's just I didn't expect it to be that good because the trailers kind of made it look like it was Fox kind of dumping in mutants in a story that really had no place for it again. So I was just kind of expecting, at worst, just kind of a studio mandated type of thing. But I really came away with it really respecting the character a lot more because I've always loved Wolverine as a character. He's my favorite X-Men, one of my favorite Marvel characters of all time. But I've never really felt like there's been that iconic representation of him outside of the comics. And the Wolverine was the first time I thought, okay, this is the definitive movie Wolverine. Like, this is Wolverine explored in a way that is fundamentally just that character. Like, it just felt like it fired on all cylinders as far as that went. Like, I agree with Flexo, the ending fight wasn't particularly great. And the reveal of the Silver Samurai and who he actually is was really lame and really distracting. And
Yeah.
I have no idea what they were thinking with doing that, but yeah, honestly, like there was so much of that movie I enjoyed on so many levels. Like Hugh Jackman has never been better in the role, and I've always loved him as Wolverine, but this is his shining moment in that character.
It's interesting going through the X-Men movies because it's called X-Men, so it feels like it should be a team ensemble, but it always turns out to be like Wolverine and his amazing friends. And now they took the Wolverine and it's just fucking Wolverine. They got rid of his amazing friends, and it works so much better for me. Like they don't even have to try and aim for the team dynamic at all. It can just be Wolverine doing what he wants. They don't have to try and shoehorn in, oh right, we need a scene with Cyclops here just so people remember he's around. And it works so much better this way.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that also I really liked about it was that there's a mutant presence, but it's not really a factor. Like, it's not really a huge factor at all. Like, Viper is in there, and she's a character, but she's more just kind of there to move the plot forward. Like, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying she's there to make a statement more on Wolverine's character, which I really love because it's really a character piece. It's more of a character piece than any of the other X-Men movies have been, which I really respected because I think Mangold kind of went out of his way to do that, and it really showed.
Mm-hmm. And all the other X-Men movies have a very focused theme on more or less, you can put any minority group in the place of the X-Men. It's just kind of, that social diversity type thing. I mean, whereas this movie just finally went in different directions. Like, no, we're going to explore different themes with these characters. And that was a refreshing twist for an X-Men film.
Yeah, it's about so much more than the mutant plight. Like, the other X-Men movies have done that and done it extraordinarily well. And this is just more about, like, what it's like for someone to live as an immortal. Can someone be redeemed? Can someone move past their darkest phase? Can someone find purpose again? Like, it's just got a lot of themes going for it that are really compelling for a Wolverine movie. Like, I was just so impressed with it. Like, it just surprised me on so many levels, and it just came away with being easily the best comic book movie of the summer, but also just being...
You're ranking it above Thor: The Dark World? Not really a summer movie.
No, well, no, not a summer, but yeah, I would still rank it above Thor: The Dark World. But yeah, I think the Wolverine was very much a triumph. I thought that it was so much better than it had any right to be, honestly.
Did you manage to check out the extended cut at all, or did you just see the theatrical?
Theatrical. I haven't seen it.
I saw the extended cut, so I have no idea how it really differs from theatrical.
I'm watching the extended cut probably next week, I think.
How much longer is the extended cut?
What is it, like 12 minutes, I want to say?
Yeah, 12 minutes, something like that.
So it's a pretty hefty amount.
To be fair, I've heard that it isn't radically different. It's just kind of like cool little addendums.
Yeah, a lot more little character moments on top of there being more blood, more to the ninja fight apparently at in the town.
Yeah, I was gonna say as I was watching, I'm like, yep, this is definitely got to be extended just for the fact that someone graphically died. I don't think you could get away with that in a PG-13.
And he says "fuck" one more time apparently.
Oh, yeah, he did say it a couple times in the film.
Nice.
Well, that's just one more thing I forgot to mention about the film is that Wolverine gets to do so many Wolverine-like things that he never got to do in the other movies.
Although I do find it hilarious, they give him a cigar, and he puts it in his mouth and then immediately throws it away. Like he doesn't even get a chance to smoke it.
Wolverine no more.
If you'd like to read my review for the Wolverine, go to boxofficepulp.blogspot.com. It's also probably my favorite movie I've seen this year. I'm pretty much with MB on that one.
Well, also, not only can you read Mike's review, but you can also listen to our episode for the Wolverine.
Stop whoring everything out. Stop.
Mini Bop for the Wolverine.
Box Office Pulp recommends. Box Office Pulp.
Box Office Pulp recommends selling your soul to corporate sponsors who will make you successful and handsome. Just like Pepsi Cola.
Box Office Pulp recommends Nike.
I wonder if I say Pepsi Cola enough times and put in the tags, eventually they'll just start throwing money at us to stop.
Mr. Pibbs. Just shoot low, man. Shoot low, then build up from there.
Mr. Pibbs not even a doctor.
Well,
go for Dr. Pepper. Have a little respect for ourselves.
Okay, men.
Fuck Dr. Pepper.
What?
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Thunder.
Fuck that.
Yes.
I'm not getting into this debate. I'm going to keep moving on. There was World War
Yeah, we
Z.
still have 20 more movies to talk about.
Better than expected. I'm just going to start breezing through some of these. Texas
World War
Chainsaw,
Z.
which I'm going to advise you not to watch. I'm sorry, what were you saying about World War Z, Mike?
World War Z was
Not amazing,
I did
but
not-
better than expected.
there was better ways to kill my time. I'll say that. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of like, well, that was a thing that was there.
It's fascinating, too, just from a script standpoint, because you can definitely tell where they swapped out.
Oh yeah.
Like, it becomes a totally different movie by the time it hits,
It feels like it was shot
Final third.
by somebody differently. It's really weird.
the whole thing just really transforms at the end. So if you like
Sounds
traditional
Brad Pitt
kind of
bare
zombie
knuckle
stuff, I
boxing a
guess.
zombie.
God, if only.
Otherwise, two of my favorite movies of the year, The World's End. If you've enjoyed the other entries in the Cornetto trilogy, I imagine you would love The World's End. It's
I want to see it very badly.
probably Edgar Wright's, I don't know, I don't want to say mature necessarily, but he does a really good job of maintaining comedy while focusing on kind of a dark theme. It's about addiction and all that. And he doesn't shy away from it either. But it's not just a pure, get sober, it's the only good thing in your life. It's not just a straight up 12-step movie. So,
2 movies about addiction this year.
I'm drawing a blank. What's the first?
Evil Dead.
That
There they are.
I don't know. I feel
Go
like the
together.
addiction section of Evil Dead was pretty small.
It was the entire movie. Listen to Hero and I discuss Evil Dead.
Maybe if I went to what's that place? Box
Well,
Office
Toby.
Pulp, the blog spot.
The blog spot. What the?
I'm an 80-year-old man.
It's
own
really
the
late,
internet.
guys.
Let me search for it on the
Slack
Google.
audience.
Now, I think the question everyone listening is asking: did we see A Good Day to Die Hard?
And the answer to that, at least for me, is no. How about you guys?
No, and I never will.
Mike watched it and he didn't watch it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I'm not going to bother with that. I saw Red 2. That was, if you're going to pick a Bruce Willis action film, maybe the way to go.
It had Storm Shadow in it. That's pretty cool.
Oh, right. My favorite film of the year, You're Next. When that comes out, I think it comes out in a month from now or something like that. You got to get it. You got to watch it. I know it didn't do
Yeah,
great
watch
at the box office, but it was my favorite experience in the movie theaters this year. I went with two
Seems like an
friends.
extremely us movie.
It's fantastic. So I just had a blast with it. It's funny without going too far into comedy where you feel like you're watching a comedy. Like, as a minor spoiler, one guy gets an arrow in his back, and he's running, and he hits a tight line. Like, there's a tight rope that he can't see. So he's trying to duck under it, actually, and he hits the arrow in his back, and he just goes, oh, fuck, and passes out. It seems like such a human thing that would happen. Like, somebody would just start running and whack their head on a doorknob or something.
Adam Wingard's a weird guy.
But yeah, I can't recommend You're Next enough. It's tense, it's funny, it's got great characters. I love the way they play with the family dynamic in the film. It's great. I really love it.
Thumbs up.
And Pacific Rim. Go see Pacific Rim.
Oh,
I'm just going to keep saying that till people start believing me. Like, well, if he says it enough, it's got to be true.
it's like the penguin joke all over again.
Lex, I'm gonna blow your mind. I didn't love Pacific Rim.
You didn't love Pacific Rim? You're not my friend.
I didn't. Yeah, well, that's pretty much what you've been saying. So
You're a monster.
Yeah, you seem to have a lot of problems with Pacific Rim. What's that about?
I like Pacific Rim. It was a very pretty movie, and the monsters fighting the robots was really cool. And if
Yeah.
I was a kid, my head would fucking explode.
Yeah.
But
You're supposed to watch it with the eyes of a kid. I mean, where are you going into a movie about robots fighting giant monsters? And, I think if you're going to that movie not expecting robots fighting giant monsters, then maybe you're going to the wrong movie.
who says I wasn't expecting robots fighting giant monsters?
He bought a ticket to go see Francis Ha, and he was like, what is this? What is this? What's with all this CGI?
Hero, explain your point. I knew there was.
I did explain my point.
I knew there was robots fighting giant monsters. I'm just waiting for
Did you? Did you?
how I wouldn't expect that.
I phrased that badly, but I was just saying, you say if you were 10 years old, you would enjoy that kind of thing. What else were you expecting?
Well, if I was 10 years old, I would be insanely bored whenever the humans were talking to each other, which is pretty much what happened the second time I watched it a week ago, and I was just glazed over about halfway through that movie until they got in the robots again, fought monsters in the third act.
I didn't think there was anything especially flawed in the dialogue or the character stuff. I mean, none of it
Besides
was
being non-existent characters, yeah, that was pretty just bare bones. I mean, it was utilitarian. It got the job done. It's just
You are fucking angry at this movie.
I'm
not
not
at
gonna.
all.
I'm not gonna let this podcast go to 3 hours long. I'm just gonna say that I completely disagree with you, and we're gonna have to cross swords at dawn.
That's
someday.
fine. Just I liked the movie.
Not enough.
I don't dislike the characters. It just
Idris Elba's disappointed in you.
it just felt like there was no real reason for there not to be stronger and them not to be, especially with such good ideas going into everything. It just felt like it was world building kind of got lost in that they never really got really into the characters themselves. Like they're all ideas for characters, but they're never really anything else besides that. I never really felt anything for any of them.
I'm just gonna flood the Tumblr page with Pacific Rim. I won't even.
That's fine. I
won't
post
look for anything
stuff on their
else.
comments, so.
You
That's
don't
all
have
I'm
to
gonna
defend
post.
Pacific Rim, Mike. We know how much Pacific Rim stuff you post. Why don't you just back the fuck off?
I mean, I am back the fuck off.
But I disagree. I think, yeah, it's not a deep movie as far as characterization goes, but you could say that about a lot of movies, like Tron Legacy, which is a movie I love very much, but also kind of suffers from pretty white dude-itis.
Oh yeah,
I don't think that necessarily can tank a film just on its own.
It was.
I think there was plenty of humor to the movie and lots of decent character moments. Like I said, it's not nothing about the characters' interaction was extremely compelling, but I thought it got the job done very much. And overall, the movie was still better than a movie. I wouldn't say better than a movie with that premise has a right to be, because it's a fucking awesome premise, but it could have been real steel, and it wasn't. I'll say that.
I don't have a problem with like one-dimensional character, like you brought up Tron Legacy. It just felt like dialogue interaction by textbook more than anything else, and that's where I just kind of I was just more bored by the human stuff than anything else. It was just a little bit too cheesy at times, and I didn't care about some of the characters, and so they kind of lost me whenever the cool stuff wasn't happening. Then the cool stuff happened again, and I was interested. And I still would have liked to see a sequel. I'm still bummed it didn't make any money.
That is very disappointing. I mean, I was hoping that people would go see the movie even if they weren't especially interested in the premise, just because it was something new. It seems like Avatar is the only other new thing that's come out in the theaters in a very long time.
Well, Warner Brothers fucked it up, and everybody just thought it was Transformers.
Yeah. The marketing for that movie was horrible,
Yeah,
honestly.
we're the only ones who knew what the fuck that movie actually was.
Go big or go extinct, Mike.
Today, we are canceling the podcast.
Still an amazing speech.
I'm half tempted to end the podcast right on that. Just cut it off. Nothing
Just
else.
move it
is
around.
just
Have
done.
it in, just
By
move
the
it
way,
around.
I'm sorry that got so intense, but I take my Idris Elba very seriously.
We all do.
Hey, we all take our Elba seriously.
Yeah. Just wait until we get to Thor, which will be like 3 hours from now.
Oh god, the podcast has been running seriously for like an hour 45. So
The only thing I have
not
to say
too
for
much
Thor is Jane Foster. I don't know what that means.
We all
but
know
I'm
you
saying
want a
that.
Jane Foster spinoff.
I don't know what that means, but you know.
Look, we have a lot to say about Thor. Not
I'm
enough
not going
to
to say
fill
it
an
now.
episode, maybe, but who
A
knows?
mini episode, possibly?
Mini
Something that was
box.
shorter, but
We don't do
not-
short. I don't think we believe
you're
in
right.
short. We won't even let midgets be part of our clubs.
Yes, we do. How do you explain Phil?
We were this close to having Peter Dinklage on the podcast, and shut the hell now.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna ask him about Underdog.
oh god, I forgot he was in that.
With one of the greatest villain performances ever. He's like fucking M. Bison in that movie.
Also, I apologize. Midget's not the PC term anymore, is it? What is...
I don't
Is it a
think
little
that's ever
person?
been the.
Short fuck.
I'm pretty sure that's never been the PC term.
Maybe back in the 30s, before people cared about other people's feelings.
Listen, I will call anybody anything I want, but you're allowed to call me honky. So,
which I do frequently.
Damn straight, Honky.
Mike has always been too white.
Come on, Honkies, come at me.
So I guess this is the part of the podcast where we apologize to all of our... Well, I guess we don't have any deaf listeners.
I like how that's who you go for.
Do your deaf voice. Do your deaf voice.
God, no. People are going to hate me enough the way it is.
Do your blind voice.
Ooh-ah.
There's going to be some blind people that listen to this podcast. They're going to be like, what the fuck is this shit? Come on.
They're
Yeah,
talking-
how would they know where the play button is?
We've got that little
All
braille
right, I'm
keyboards.
gonna undercut the tension with remember to drink delicious Pepsi.
Pepsi Cola. And Pepsi Cola, if you don't want to be associated with our horrible attitudes towards the rest of humanity, we'll take a buyout.
Yeah, or at least give us free Pepsi.
Listen, the
Give us
fact
free
is,
Coke. I don't care.
No matter what we say, Mountain Dew will always be down for it. Do the do, guys. Do the do.
Code Red Dew? That's the ticket.
Bullet.
Can we? There's so many spots I just want to end this podcast, and I think on that long string of product placement might be the classiest. Box Office Pulp recommends watching every film of 2013, and then drinking Pepsi Cola, and then Mountain Dew, and then getting some Pillsbury Crescent rolls.
So, I mean, how many more films do we have left to list?
I basically read all the ones I own. There were plenty that aren't out yet. Gravity is absolutely stunning. If anyone's still listening at this point and not drinking a fine Pepsi Cola.
Oh, John Dies at the End came out this year.
Oh, yeah, John Dies at the End. I think it's on Netflix. If it is, you should watch it. It might be confusing and very strange, but you'll be a better person for having gone through the experience.
How about this? You should watch it asterisk if you want to.
Yeah, it's not really a good movie, but it's interesting, and it will make you want to read the book, which I've heard is quite good.
Yeah, I would say it's a fascinating film. Like, I could see it getting a large cult following of people that are just obsessed with it. I'm a little obsessed with it.
Speaking of which, Hero, you had a interesting experience with that book.
He died at the end.
Yeah, I was eating lunch the other day at work, and there was an elderly woman on the table beside me, just engrossed in John Dies at the End.
The book, not the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
She wasn't watching it on her iPad or anything.
the book has that effect. Like, it's 500 pages long or something crazy, and you don't really want to stop, even though it's built into episodes more or less, but you're still flipping through it like, what the fuck is going on? I gotta get more of this.
Now, Hero, how old was this woman? Like, how
She
old
looked
do you
like
say?
she was 68 at the youngest. Like, it was an old lady.
She's
It's
a
really-
huge Cracked fan. That's what it does.
It's a tale for all ages.
I just keep going back to Mike's first response to the story, which was, where did she even get that book?
They sell it at Barnes & Noble.
It's like, what about that drew her to John Dies at the end?
Yeah, I'm trying to
This
think,
old lady knows about the power of the soy sauce.
yeah, the movie covers like a syringe and like a guy holding a baseball bat with nails in it and like a motorcycle mask with flames painted on it. I'm not sure what really appeals to most people when they look at it. It's a cool poster, but doesn't necessarily grab the attention of old people.
See, if I was there, I would just follow her around for the rest of the day to learn what her life was like.
I was very tempted to ask her what she thought of the book. I've never been more tempted to talk to a stranger before.
Like, what is an old person's view of that?
If there's any old people listening to the podcast, please tell us, how do you manage to exist?
Now,
And please answer before you die.
Describe life.
What were the 30s like?
Could you tell me about the
Those
dinosaurs?
were hard, weren't they?
now there is a height requirement.
Oh, God.
Also, don't be fat. Just don't be fat. Do you not be fat?
Well, they're old. I mean,
Box Office Pulp recommends being young and attractive.
We'll have to try that out one day.
Man, Box Office Pulp sounds like a douche.
Box Office Pulp secretly hates himself.
Box Office Pulp cries into its mattress every night because it doesn't have any money to store in there, just tears.
a delicious Pepsi Cola.
all the money of which is spent on drugs. Box Office Pulp has a problem.
Box Office Pulp can't stop himself. Box Office Pulp just wishes the pain would end.
Box Office Pulp is a victim.
Box Office Pulp doesn't care for that impression of Box Office Pulp. Seriously, what are you, Macaulay Culkin? Box Office Pulp?
Box Office Pulp often gets his drugs from Macaulay Culkin.
Box Office Pulp hit rock bottom, and then found out there's another bottom underneath rock bottom, and 3 more after that.
Box Office Pulp had kind of an identity crisis in the 80s.
Box Office Pulp truly sees himself as a blight on this world.
Box Office Pulp found out that if you inject behind your knees, it's hard to find the track marks.
Then, in 1994, things took a turn for the worst for Box Office Pulp.
Box
More
Office
on True
Pulp.
Hollywood Story after this.
Box Office Pulp watches Forrest Gump and doesn't feel a thing anymore because Box Office Pulp is dead inside.
The darkest moment for Box Office Pulp was waking up in that hotel room in Germany with that woman I didn't know and surrounded by hermaphrodite porn.
Box Office Pulp didn't even care for the human parts of Pacific Rim.
Box Office Pulp recommends turning off the podcast now.
Box Office Pulp recommends going away.
Still doing the podcast at this point.
Can we just be done?
Movies, everybody.
I'm calling it, guys. That's the podcast.
You're roughing it.
Tune in for 2014 when we actually talk about film.
No, we won't. It's a lie. Box Office Pulp used to believe that. Box Office Pulp doesn't anymore.
And like that, he's gone.
I like how this is how we wrap up the first year of Box Office Pulp.
It's so appropriate.
I don't know if that episode made any lick of sense to anyone who's not us, but
That was the greatest episode I've ever been a part of.
it was a hell of a thing.
Happened.
Why was there a game show?
Why was there anything?